In the Parliament session on the 10th of May, NCMP Leong Man Wai and DPM Heng Swee Keat exchanged heated blows over the classification of state revenue during the second reading of the Significant Infrastructure Government Loan Act Singa bill. DPM had started the session on remaining prudent and maintaining a strong fiscal position, noting that the debt we accumulate must not put unfair pressure on future generations. He had commented on how Mr. Leong's argument on the topic.
So Mr. Leong Man Wai's long speech boils down to actually one argument, that we have a lot of money, more than enough, because our reserves are large, and we can just spend and spend and spend. And then he comes up with some estimates of how big our reserves are.
He also then asked that if Mr. Leong would like to contribute, that he enter with new insights.
So I hope that if Mr. Leong would like to make a contribution to policy making in this chamber, please be rigorous. Come here with fresh insights on new facts. Bring this to the House for debate. Please do not reread your old script.
Mr. Leong then responded with the following.
I'm very perturbed by his saying that I'm not contributing to this parliament. I don't take umbrage because I aim to be a gentleman, but I'm seriously perturbed. I think what I'm trying to do here is to complete the picture, because I think maybe because of the various commitment of government, some of the information that's coming out of this parliament is not complete. Let me ask 4 questions to complete the picture. 1, I asked the DPM, do you agree that this year fiscal resources amount to $128 billion? We don't care how you classify the resources into revenues, but you have $128 billion. $39 billion of NIR, $12 billion of land sales, and $77 billion of taxes. 2, while you refuse to announce the accurate figure for the reserves, but the government published government financial statements every year, and as of March 2020, the total financial assets reported on the financial statement was $1.35 trillion. Please confirm that. 3, you provided some figures to say that the middle-class Singaporeans are getting more from the government than the taxes they pay. One question I want to ask you is, why don't you go to your constituency and tell the constituents that please pay more taxes, you will get more from the government? Okay. Have you taken into consideration all the indirect taxes when you presented your conclusion? Okay. And 4th, for all the expenditures that the government is trying to incur, are you prepared to give a 20-year forecast of all the expenditures that are going to come? It is a very serious matter, you know. If we have that much resources, we almost have 7 to 8% of our GDP, okay, including when you take into consideration the land sales and the NIR we have. Every year we have about 7 to 8% of our GDP in this sort of resources. And you tell me that going forward, our expenditures will still be more than this. Then we have to look at our expenditures very carefully. Those are the 4 questions. DPM, please.
This resulted in a curt exchange between them, with DPM Heng refuting the NCMP's statements.
Let me ask that you do not put words into my mouth. I did not say that you're not contributing to this parliament. I said that please be rigorous when you come to parliament and justify your position, right?
He replied to the 4 questions asked by Mr. Leong, repeatedly asking Mr. Leong to do his research before forming questions.
Think about it carefully. And for you to argue that we have 78% of GDP equals to NRRC equals to land sales, your numbers are just completely off. So I hope that you take your parliamentary duty seriously and that you do your homework before you come and debate us on the numbers.
Mr. Leong was displeased with the response he received and interjected, asking for the future projections he mentioned.
Sorry, I have to interject, because there was a lot of allegations.
Mr. Leong,
Yes.
wait till I call you. Mr. Leong Mawai, if you have fresh insights, please, thank you. I just called you, you can respond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Okay, I'm also speechless. Okay, all the numbers that I'm saying are backed by research. Okay, so what the DPM has said just now, can I confirm again that you agree? First, we have $128 billion of fiscal resources this year, but you define and you classify some of it in the revenue, some not in the revenue. So the government is doing that different classification from what we see as total resources available. Okay, so that I take
Mr.
it.
Leong, can I suggest we cover new grounds? I think whatever DPM has explained, he has explained. If you are holding to your position, you're free to do so, but if you can have new insights, we can move on.
No, Mr.
And not
Speaker.
repeat the same ground,
Mr.
please.
Speaker, that is very important. You know, what DPM is saying is whatever he say is facts. Whatever we present as an alternative view is something that can be brushed off. And I have to go back and do more homework and be more rigorous. That is, I don't want to take offense, something that I think that's not professional.
So you will have a position, you disagree with DPM, and we can recognize that,
Okay,
right?
yes.
So do you have new insights that you'd like to share with us in Parliament?
Okay,
Apart from
then
going over the same ground.
DPM just now said that he could provide the recurring expenditures that's expected over the next 10 to 20 years. If I may request that he provide us with that so that we can scrutinize.
Mr. Leong, he replied as to how he wants to approach that. There's no point repeating the same question because you get the same answer.
But I'm asking for a commitment.
DPM has replied and said it's not able to provide you the projection for the next 20 years because it's hard to project what the future will be.
But he did say that the recurrent expenditures are possible. But some expenditures, like the COVID expenditure, that of course is not predictable. But some are possible. So I'm requesting whether he can provide those that are possible. Okay, so that's all, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much for my indulgence. Thank you for allowing me.
The DPM stood his ground on not being able to provide projections, even asking Mr. Leong to focus on the Parliament session instead of use his phone.
Let me set on record what I said, and I hope that you are not insinuating that I was non-professional in my approach, because if you were that was so, I'm completely speechless. Now, when you asked whether I could provide projections for the next 20 years, and I warned that it is not possible to project over such a long term because there will always be contingent events like COVID-19. And we had gone through global financial crisis, Asian financial crisis, SARS. So crisis is a recurring feature of our life today. And for us to pretend that we have the foresight to see clearly what will happen in the future is just not right. We had gone through our projections over and over again, and the numbers keep changing because of the factors that I mentioned in my speech earlier. So I hope that you listen carefully and not just look into your phone, please. I'm speaking and you're just looking into your phone. I hope that you have the courtesy to at least listen when I am trying so hard to address you, even though I'm not obliged to stand up and answer.
Mr. Leong,
yeah.
If you like, DPM finish.
Can you let me continue? Yeah.
After more questions about the fiscal spending by Mr. Leong, DPM Heng concludes that Singapore needs to remain fiscally prudent.
That we are a tiny red dot with no natural resources and for which you are subject to the vagaries of the global economy. So we are an extremely open economy as well. So I will just end there because if you have any further question, you can file a PQ and we will answer you.
This is brought to you by the Independent Singapore. Subscribe to our channel for more breaking news and documentaries.